sir.
Grab your brews in your fantasy league. We got that blue and orange blood that you bleed. The most loyal fans there ever could be. We are that mile high Broncos country.
Orange Weekly, Fans, Brews, and Broncos News. Hey, Bourbon Broncos No BS, brought to you by Uncrustables, the favorite snack of the Broncos.
Sandwich of the Broncos.
Just trying to eat that before the show, but anyway, hey guys, how we doing? Thank you for joining us here tonight. Week before Halloween, Jared decided to wear his costume for some reason. Not sure why, but hey, we're all glad you're all here. So, man, we got a lot of good stuff to talk about.
Incredible makeup, Jared.
Yeah, I'm over here catching strays while Kevin eats Uncrustables. I'm a little jealous. Not used to being on this side of the joke, so that's great. Yeah, I'm doing great. How's everybody else doing?
David just looks confused.
David's muted. No, David's trying to talk, but he forgot that his headset's not down. Because
I was about to dunk on Jared. And now I've got, boy, that turned around on me really fast.
A lot of
yeah, it did.
A lot of
yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Well, hey guys, good news. The Broncos are 5-3 halfway through the season. They beat up on the team they were supposed to beat up on in the Panthers this week. We're going to break that down, and then we'll start looking forward to this next week's game against the Ravens. So, I mean, we got Jared, Spotty, David, everybody in the chat. Go ahead and post your comments, post your questions. Let's hear what you guys have to say. But let's hear some initial reactions from the game. Spotty, I mean, we'll hand it over to you. What do you think from just kind of where we're at?
So before I got on the show, I was feeling a little, I was like extra pep in my step. The Broncos are 5-3. I was like, you know what? What were the Broncos this time last year? And this time last year, what were the Broncos? 3-5.
3-5.
And I'm pretty sure we were pretty somber and just not energetic on all of these on the podcast. And you know what? It's weird. It's like you're throwing a little pizzazz and it injects a lot of excitement into it. And then we're going to run into, I would say, better competition for the next couple of weeks, but it's not like this is going to derail the season all of a sudden. And even, no matter what happens, nothing could really derail the season right now because we're still midway through the year, but 2 games over 500. I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm happy.
Yeah.
David,
what do you think, man?
Well, and Spotty, I think the last time that we were over 2 games over 500 this late in the season was 2016, I believe. I read somewhere. So yeah, it's been a remarkable turnaround, especially considering where we all thought we were going to be 3 weeks, like going into week 3, right? And so my thoughts from that Panthers game, obviously, guys, and you all saw it. Everybody in the comments saw it. It was Bo Nix's best game as a pro by a ridiculous amount. Like, not just like so much so that just saying it was the Panthers defense, I don't think accounts for how much he improved just week to week over that Saints game. I didn't see him throw a ball off of bad feet once in the entire game. He was attacking the ball downfield. He was attacking dig routes, seam routes, attacking wheel routes, 15, 20 yards down the field consistently. And it was a massively beautiful thing to see. It's, Jared, it's one of those things where you're not going to see that kind of steady improvement trajectory week to week, right? But if you can just keep what you've already seen going into next week, that's what you want to see the most.
Yeah, I mean, Bo Nix just sat there and proved to us what we kind of were hoping to see, and it's probably that. I think that's why we're all so energetic. Yes, we have a very tough couple of games ahead. We'll talk about the Ravens game here in the second half of the show, but it shows us that Bo Nix can be that guy, right? He can be that 300-yard thrower. I don't think he ended up throwing for 300 yards because we were playing ahead, so we were kind of running the ball out.
Close,
right?
Yeah. Close.
Could have, absolutely could have. He had over 200 yards in the first half. And should have had 3 touchdowns. I mean, he did have 3 touchdowns. He had 1 rushing, but he should have had 3 throwing in the first half if it wasn't for a hold that didn't get called.
Right. A couple of drops. Like, boy, we got to talk about these wide receivers, but we'll get to it.
Yeah, and we'll talk about both sides of the ball for the wide receiver drops here in a little bit. But really what it came down to was it showed us as Broncos country why we drafted him. And why he is the future of the franchise. Regardless of what happens for the rest of the season, he showed us that he can do it. Whether it was against a beat-up defense or not, whether it was, 2 games in a row against 2 teams that aren't doing so hot, and we're going up against the next 2 teams that are a little bit better, whatever the case is, Bo Nix has what it takes to be able to be an NFL quarterback, and he showed us in week 8. And then that's what we want. And now we know that it's there. We know that he can build. He could be part of the system. He's finding wide open wide receivers. Again, on the Saints game, you saw a lot of things where he was just missing wide open wide receivers. Right? Again, we end up winning the game, but he didn't miss the wide open wide receivers this time. He was throwing dimes that we were dropping, and some of them that we were catching. And it just showed that he has what it takes to be. And that some of those were not easy throws. The touchdown to Troutman over the middle was there was the only one place that ball could have gone, and it wasn't because the defense sucked.
No, I think that's Bo's best throw of the year, right, guy? Like that was a seed.
Yeah, I think that. Well, the one that was really good, the one to Troy Franklin, was also a dime that Franklin just wired through his hands.
The court touchdown also makes me feel like, because I mean, don't get me wrong, we probably are looking at it because the Cortland made an incredible catch, but also it was an incredible placement.
That's a good ball.
Yeah.
You're right.
But, I mean, even the soft touch ball that was end up incomplete. He ended up rushing the ball in, and there was a missed holding call on the defensive back. I forget who it was to in the corner. It was just a touch ball. And if Lil Jordan Humphrey didn't get thrown, it was right in the breadbasket, and it was a touch. It wasn't like he's not trying to slam it in there. It was just a beautiful thrown little arc. It would have been right there if he would have been able to get out of his break without being held. And it just shows the progression that we've wanted to see, and that he has the capability to do it regardless of who he's playing, regardless of what the defense looks like. He's seeing the field, and that's what we really wanted.
Throw those second half stats out for just a minute. He was putting the ball where he wanted it all day. First half, second half didn't matter. Receivers maybe not catching it, but his placement was on point all day, and it was so encouraging to see.
Can anybody tell where we're trying to go with all of our conversations today? How many times we're talking about drops? One thing I want to mention, and I've read it all plenty of places, and we're talking about how bad Carolina's defense is. That team has a win. That team has beaten a quote unquote pro quarterback so far this year. So it's not like this isn't a college defense out here. Like their conversation always comes out about, could a college team beat a pro team? And it 100% is resoundingly a no. Okay, so even though they're not the best defense out there, they're still not the worst. There's still a lot of areas where even the Carolina Panthers, by stat, is not the worst defense in the NFL. And so he came in, he did the things that he's supposed to do, okay, against stars. I mean, my fiance was looking at the Javion Clowney on the field. The man is still a massive human being. He's still really good at his job. All right.
Yeah.
Josie Jewell's good at his job. JC Horn is good at his job. So you got to commend a guy like Bo to come in, do the things that he was supposed to do, and really do it with no mistakes. He could have come out, he could have fumbled the ball, he could have thrown interceptions, and we would have poo-pooed it because it was like, whatever, he's still trying to grow. But he hasn't thrown an interception that is something that's been actually picked off in weeks.
Yeah.
James, I want to get to your comment here. We'll talk about trade stuff, but I do want to throw this up there. I know you guys made a point in the chat. Not all the rookie quarterbacks played every week this month because of bye weeks, but still keeping this in mind, Bo Nix rank among the rookie quarterbacks. Pass touchdown 7, that's first. Touchdown interception 71, first. Pass yards 870, that's first. Rush touchdowns 2, and this was so that's first. Wins 3 is tied for first. I mean, could you ask the guy to do any better than he's done halfway through the season?
Well, yeah, but I can't ask him to do much better. Yeah, like I can. Like, guys, like let's.
Okay, could you expect him? Reasonably, you could ask him to do more. Could you expect him to do reasonably?
That's a little bit of a different question. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No. Okay.
Syntax.
Yeah,
I'll watch my syntax. How's that?
Thank you. You're dealing with a writer here. Yeah. So I mean, let's keep it in perspective here. There's been 1 week of this season so far where even when Bo Nix has played well, you can't say that there were large stretches of the game where he didn't make things harder for himself. Where he wasn't playing within the tempo and within the structure of the offense and just taking what was given to him. And now you have seen that for like a full game, like not just a quarter, not just a half. I think we saw it for the entire game this time. And so, yeah, if you see him do that every single week from now on, Kev, we are a lot closer to, can you ask him to do any more? No, like a lot closer, but we'll see.
I like it.
David, I'm gonna go on a little. I'm gonna say that we can't really ask much more from him because what we asked for Bo to be at the beginning of the year was a game manager. We asked him to be Alex Smith 2.0, someone who's not doing too much because we knew that we had a defense, or at least we've seen that we have a defense that is capable of keeping you in the game. So when you have somebody like Alex Smith, I use Alex Smith because he could run, he could throw just enough. He wasn't going to do anything that would sincerely wow you, but he kept the defense off the field long enough and let them do what they wanted to do. So that's kind of what we were asking him to do. And so for him to throw for 284 yards and 3 touchdowns and 1 rushing touchdown, that's above what we expected, especially being, what was he, the 6th quarterback taken?
Yeah. And for the record, that's what we asked. But if you look at what Sean Payton has asked of him, it's a little bit different, right? We talked about it on a couple shows, like throwing for 42, 45 times a game in the first couple games is a lot to ask for a rookie quarterback. But I think he also showed Sean Payton and the coaching staff and the ownership group and everybody in that building that he has the capability to do it. And not just the capability, but the gravitas to be able to just lower his shoulder and try to get into the end zone against Josie Jewell. He's got that drive, and he knows what he's doing. He's a leader of this team, and I think it's really going to take a step forward as a leader of this team just based on those last 2 games, specifically this last one, the way that he played.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Let me derail the conversation real quick. Yeah. Thanks to Jerry's comment.
We never do that.
No, never. This is the first time here at Bourbon Broncos and OBS. But Jared, I have it on very good authority from an inside source, unnamed inside source, that you have just 1 hat with you, and I think you see where I'm going with this, and I think maybe the audience deserves to see you put it on.
Is he staring at that source?
Yeah, there it is. You look fantastic. I just wanted to say, Jerry and I are welcoming you to Team Puffball, even if it's just for a night. Sean, bless you. Thank you guys so much. Team Puffball comes out for every single show, and we've finally gotten Jared on board.
I have never said that there isn't a use for puffballs, and I am in New England, and it is cold out here. And so that is why I did bring my puffball instead of my visor. However, thank you, sweetheart. for diving me out like that. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm
now,
only
back
slightly disappointed.
Like
Yeah.
the Vanna White situation we had with the hat there.
That was good.
to
Oh man, God damn it,
that
Gary.
might be months. You might
Love
want to
it.
get that checked.
James.
Um,
We're going to talk about Bo more, especially as we get into this next game. But we definitely want to talk about the trade deadline is coming up. We're looking at, man, there's a number of things. Do you want to get a wide receiver? Do you want to get a tight end? What kind of things do we want to do? Do we want to do anything? Because we're finally at a position where we have our draft capital back. So I don't know, Jared, start with you. What are some of your thoughts, not for just David Njoku, but other trades in general that the Broncos can make?
Yeah, so I hate to go back on what I was saying because I was definitely a fan of trying to go out for a good tight end, and I think that would be the only thing that we'd go out and trade for. But the way Adam Troutman and I forget the other is it Zach?
Nate Adkins.
Yeah, Nate Adkins. The way that they played in this game, and we saw it in the Saints game too, right? They were wide open, they just missed, right? The ball just didn't get to them. But the way that they're playing, and I think part of it's the scheme, really makes me believe that we have pretty good tight ends. Would I like one that could block a little bit better? Sure, right? I do like Adam Troutman and Nate Atkins in there, and we know that they can catch the ball. I don't know if it's a need specifically if we're going to be trading away draft capital based on the last 4 years and what we haven't had, but. I just don't see the Broncos being very aggressive in this offseason to go trade for somebody unless somebody comes to them and says, hey, you guys are 5-3 now. You guys might need a little bit over the top. Then we start having that conversation. But I don't think we're going to be aggressive and going out for a trade this offseason or this before the trade deadline.
Spotty?
I think it was David who said that the trade deadline's at a terrible time.
It is.
It is at a bad time. Like, you're not really sure at this point if you're going to be a playoff team, right?
That's true.
And so in like basketball, when they're for their trade deadline, it's always late in the year, and it's a time for veterans who are on crappy teams to flip teams with the possibility to contend for a championship, right? And a lot of the times they'll take a deal to do so. It's hard, man. David Njoku, I'm pretty sure his contract is going to be up. And so therefore the Broncos are going to be giving up draft capital for the potential of what? Maybe with the potential to re-sign him, like that'd be kind of cool, but there's no guarantee. And somebody who like David Njoku, in all honesty, there's probably only 10 great tight ends in the NFL. You might be able to throw 11 or 12 on there. So that means that 20 teams don't have that. Therefore, there's a lot on the line, for a guy like David, who's like, okay, I could go to free agency and then we're not going to come back. So the Broncos are at a point where they want draft capital and they're trying to free up cap space, which we're doing a lot of already to free up cap space. I think we're somewhere in like the bottom 10. So we're going to have a lot available to us next year, somewhere the exact opposite of the New Orleans Saints. So it's the difference between cap heaven and cap hell. And so I don't see them taking on a player like David who has injury concerns long term, and for that to make any sense. So I've been watching a lot more college football this year, so I can give more takes by the end of the season. But I don't think it's necessary to go after somebody like David. Yeah, and I like Davids.
Yeah, right. Yeah, clearly.
We got all the Davids.
Big David guy.
But yeah, I'm agreeing. I'm leaning towards just Spotty here, and I just don't know. I don't know that it's necessary, really. Like, sure, I get it. You maybe take your team over the top with one the top of one playoff win, right? Like maybe a trade now is the difference between losing a playoff game and winning a playoff game in January. But I also think they're still kind of relatively self-aware about where this roster is, in that it's not ready to go deep into the playoffs right now. Even if you overperform or perform to the expectations that you had for yourselves internally, but overperform based on what the national media thought you would do and make the playoffs this year, I just don't see them as a team that really is threatening for a Super Bowl. So giving up draft capital for a trade of that sort doesn't really make sense to me right now, right?
No. Look, I think the fact the Broncos are 5-3, as we mentioned, is a completely different situation than any of us really expected to be in at the start of the year. But maybe if we were like 6-2 and you're looking at the schedule going, okay, we already have 6 wins, could we squeeze out another 4 to 5? In which case, yeah, now you're talking about definitely a playoff team. Is it worth? Now you can have that conversation of, is it worth making the move? Who's out there? Who's available? What's the asking price? But for where we're at, as happy as we are, we have our draft capital back. We need to continue to build through the draft. The time will come to bring in those free agents, make a blockbuster trade to add that one piece you need to really push you over the edge. I just don't think we're there yet. Let's be patient. Let's play this out. I know for the first time in a long time, I think Broncos country just feeling like, oh, the trade deadline's coming up and there's like a reason for us to think about it and really pay attention to it. And we're not used to that. So I think that's why there's maybe some extra excitement there.
On this side of it, not the, oh man, who we going to lose?
Exactly.
Well,
no, exactly.
But to that point, today on Twitter, for example, like Deontay Johnson got traded, and there were a few Broncos fans who were upset that we didn't go out there and get him. And I was like, guys, did you know the name Deontay Johnson before a week ago? Are we just wanting to trade now so that we can say that we traded for somebody? Let's not go crazy here. I understand we're 5-3. Bo just had his best game. It looks like the sky's the limit, but let's slow down.
That's right.
Well, but how about on the other side, right? Because I know in the chat we talked a couple of days ago. There's reports that the Broncos were going to potentially trade Jonathan Cooper or Baron Browning. So I'm not saying that those are splash moves that anybody would, it's not going to it shouldn't rock the boat too much. But if we have the ability to add capital in areas that we, or even a player in areas that we needed, it couldn't hurt.
I'd say,
I think. Yeah. I was going to say, I think the reality of the situation is we're not a win now team, but we're also not a lose now team either, which is a cool place to be right now, where we're not super worried about trading those guys because if someone picks them up and we open up some capital, it's not going to make the biggest difference for what's going forward with our team. But we're not in a win now where we have to trade for somebody, and we're not in a position where we have to sell the farm, because right now I feel like we have a good, solid foundation to build on through the next couple of years. So we're kind of in that weird middle spot where it's like we might just be quiet, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'll say this about Browning. It does feel like there's a really high potential that this is his last year as a Bronco anyway. So if you get somebody calling and offering something for him, I think you might have to at least listen. I would say of the two between Browning and Cooper, I know who I would be trying to re-sign right now.
Yeah, I exactly. mean, we know how pass rushers go too. So both of them are on. They were both drafted the exact same year, oddly enough, out of the same college. But we know what this for contracts for them. So in edge rushers, Jonathan Cooper, with the amount of pressures that he's getting this year, is probably going to command a fair amount of money. So that's the only reason that I foresee saying, okay, if we can potentially, Jonathan Cooper was a 6th round pick for us. He was it was all about the scouting. So if we could find that same kind of success, I know, knock on wood, like that happens too often, but it can't hurt the future of this team.
No, definitely not. Okay, part of the trade here kind of conversation, but maybe not so much actually now that I read it. But moving on, so looking at, do we need to demote Franklin? And I think some of this comes into not just Mims, but Vele as well. I think what we've seen is Franklin, especially, but maybe Mims as well, have been given some chances, but it seems that whenever somebody gets a chance and makes the most of it, it's Vele. Vele doesn't get too many, balls thrown his way, but he is always catching those things, man. So, if you had to make any halftime or half-season adjustments, mid-season adjustments to anything, do you want to keep trying to get Franklin the ball, get him that in-game experience, or do you want to say, hey, Vele, it's probably time to give him a little bit more of a look, give him more attention, and see if we can build him up a little bit more?
Well, on the opposite side, I think it's going to be more towards Bo's credit than anything else, but he is spreading the ball out pretty damn evenly. So what you're seeing is, yes, Franklin and Franklin and
Mims,
oh my gosh,
Mims.
No,
Mims, Bailey.
No,
Jordan
Bailey.
Humphrey?
No,
Bailey.
Jordan
Bailey.
Humphrey?
Little Jordan Humphrey. So you're seeing little issues with the two of them, right? Like you're seeing little things that they're like, dropping balls,
Bill?
not
Fumbles.
getting open, fumbles, things like that. But you're seeing, so what we're talking about is a 4 to 5 receiver set, 4 receiver sets, and they're rotating them in and out. And just to Bo Nix's credit, he's just spreading the ball out, right? He's getting the ball to everybody, and you're seeing everybody get options. So I don't think about demoting somebody, because who do we have that would be able to come up and be able to sit in these 4 receiver sets? So really right now our 4 receiver set is Sutton, Vele, Humphreys, and Franklin. And with that set with Josh Reynolds being injured, it's kind of hard to demote somebody. And yes, would I like to see Mims be more involved in the passing game? Absolutely. But there's a reason why, and we just don't know it. Right. And there's a reason why he's not out there doing things. I would like to see him getting out there, but I think to Bo's credit, he's spreading the ball out pretty evenly. I think Vele had his options, and he was catching some very, very good, very important 3rd down balls that he's making some great catches for. So yes, you already seen Vele getting more involved, which we're happy for here at Orange Weekly. Yes, we'd like to see Mims get more involved, but if there's something we're not seeing there, and I don't think there's somebody that we can like elevate to the next level, right? Those are our wide receivers, and we're running 4 or 5 receiver sets all the time.
Yeah.
And
Spotty,
Franklin's a rookie, right? Like
Sure.
we give Bo Nix grace for being a rookie and making rookie mistakes, as we should. And yeah, look, I get it.
I can only do that for one player, though. I can't do that for I can only be so patient at one time. I
get it. It's hard, especially when Bo is like finally like feeling himself. And you're seeing him deliver these deep balls down the field, and they're being put in these great spots, and then the receiver it goes just right through his hands. I get it, but yeah, you got to keep him in there. You got to keep him getting used to what they'll see from NFL defenders, even if they're not catching the ball every time. Which I get it. That's the point. But you've got to at least let him keep seeing the other stuff, right? Yeah.
Spotty, any thoughts?
Freaking throw Vele the football. I'm F all of the rest of the shit, okay? I'm telling you, man, Vele is open. He is the safety blanket. You know, I've been big on Vele from the start, David. We've both been big on Vele. And I'm telling you, when he gets more involved, we've seen some really good things. Now, there's a difference, because there's a chemistry between Franklin and Bo that not everybody else is going to have, right? It takes time for the quarterbacks to build chemistries with their wide receivers. But Cortland seemed to come out pretty big in this last game. All right,
100 yards.
So this is the NFL, man. There's only one football. We can't spread it around to everybody that much, anyways, right? We're gonna probably talk about this when it comes to the Ravens here soon, anyways. But honestly, I think Vele should be more involved, and I'm slightly annoyed that he was a healthy scratch for a couple of games there. Because who knows what's going to happen when Reynolds gets back? Honestly, at this point, I don't think we need Reynolds.
Yeah.
So,
well,
that's it.
That's
Vele's a rookie too, by the way, David. So we're not giving him he's just a rookie. Like,
he is not.
He's playing like a pro.
Yeah, he's playing like a pro. He's not dropping balls. He is making toe tap catches at the sideline. He seems to be the only one who knows on a scramble drill when Bo Nix is scrambling, run the same direction that your quarterback is running.
Right.
Guy plays like he's 30.
Yeah. Yeah, well, he's only 4 years shy of 30, but guys, I want to bring something up to you, guys, and it's about wide receiver fumbles specifically. And we heard Sean Payton zoom in on it after the game a little bit. He was pissed. Like, if you guys watched his post game press conference, he was not happy about the way they executed in that game. Outside of the good stuff that we saw from the passing game, he brought up the wide receiver fumbles specifically. He said, "Bothers me," which if you know Sean Payton means like he's going to chew some people out about this. And
there's a video of him chewing Sutton off, chewing Sutton out as he gets off the sideline there. I mean, he is bad.
Well, and to me, here's why I like it, guys, because to me that is Sean Payton communicating to this team we have expectations for ourselves in this building, and it doesn't matter what anybody around the league or watching the league thinks those expectations should be. This is how a good team plays week in and week out. These are the good things a good team does, and these are the things a good team doesn't do, whether you're playing a bad team or not. And you can't just cover it up by saying, hey, we went out there and scored 28 points and won handily, right? Like, you've got to address that stuff because, as he said, there are other better teams coming at you, and you're not going to win games if you have 2 wide receiver fumbles a lot.
Yeah.
Do we know
Yeah, but ultimately,
the league in fumbles?
Is it us? Yeah, not surprised.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not surprised. And obviously the first one at the beginning of the game was probably getting more attention than anything, but Sutton on the 1 yard line, I mean, that was rough, right? Got a great catch, great run. And then I don't know. And you saw him when he got up, he was like, yeah, that's my bad. Right. And I get it, right? Like take the piece of taking responsibility, but there is little things that in games like that, yes, we can get away with. We can't do that as we transition at next week or this week. That is not something that is going to be able to win us a game if we have 2 fumbles from our wide receivers in a week. It's just not a thing. And even some of the penalties, like people forget about, like, right, got us out of field goal range a couple times. We took a sack out of field goal range, right? Those little things that I think that that Sean Payton is really going to focus on in practice this week is the difference between beating a good team like the Ravens and the Chiefs and losing to a good team like the Ravens and the Chiefs, right? If we played everything the same way we played against the Panthers, minus the fumbles, minus the stupid sack that we took to take us out of field goal range, then yes, we are going to be able to beat the Ravens. If we played the same way we played against the Panthers next week, with all that considered, we're not winning that game. It's just how it's going to roll out.
Yeah, right.
Well, you're kind of leading us into next week's game. So any closing thoughts on this last week's game, guys? Spotty, David?
At least it wasn't the running backs this game.
Yeah, fact.
Yeah.
Fact.
So I get we want to tear into the wide receivers, but it's not like we can forget that the running backs have their own amount of fumbles out there right now. So honestly, I just want to touch on this again, and I just kind of laugh at players yelling at Sean Payton for running up the score is still just one of the most outrageous things to me out there. So, and the fact that it even was like big enough for people to write about saying that the Broncos were trying to run up the score because they did 2 4th down conversion plays. Well, we forget that we had a penalty on the fourth on the field goal. So it was like, what we're gonna do? Well, shit, might as well try a freaking fake, to get the first down. Is that running up the score? No, it's being in no man's land, and it's either punt or try to a long kick.
Yeah.
Right.
That's ridiculous.
That's all I have to say about that. It's just a dumb conversation.
Well, we'll end it with another shout out from Sean for number 48 for Boney. Played another perfect game as a long snapper, guys. I am so glad he is on our team. Roy, the fumbles are getting to be an epidemic no matter the position, and we will definitely talk about that as we get into the conversation for next week. But first, it is halftime. So grab your orange slices, grab your Uncrustables, whatever you want, and let's take a quick break. First off, make sure you're filling up your glass with a nice glass of Breckenridge Distillery Champion Blend, the whiskey, the vodka, whatever your choice. Great stuff, guys. So make sure you go check that out at a liquor store near you and get a bottle to make sure you're set for game day. Also, don't forget about all the other content here at Bourbon Broncos and No BS, starting with the post-game podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Podchaser, wherever you listen to your podcast, we are there. So make sure you check that out. That is up. The pregame podcast comes out Fridays or Saturdays. So by Saturday, you can definitely check that out as you get ready for the game. Game day, we have our live pregame show 1 hour before kickoff and the original live halftime show as well. Every Tuesday night, we are here, guys. Bourbon Broncos and No BS. Doesn't matter during the season. We are live 7 p.m. So make sure you stop on by, post your comments, post your questions, and love to talk to you about what we got going on in Broncos country. With that being said, guys, we are on to week 9. The Broncos are starting a 2-game road streak, or 2-game road trip, starting out over to Baltimore. And it's tough because after Baltimore, you got the Chiefs. And this team could very easily find themselves either 5-5 or who knows, 6-4. Anything can happen, right? But this is a time where if we're looking like and talking about that P word, that the playoffs, like, hey, we're going to have a chance to really evaluate this team and say, hey, where are they for real? Because the Ravens are coming off a pretty embarrassing loss to the Browns. But I don't know, guys. Let's start the conversation. So, Jared, I'll hand it over to you, man. What are some of your thoughts as we get ready for this game?
So there's two things I want to mention, and I'm going to jump ahead a week as well. And I know we hate doing that, but the first one is they're coming off of a very a Jameis Winston led Browns, and that is another thing to put in there. Right, there is weaknesses in their defense. They're not the scary defense that they've always been. So there's chances for us. But I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit to the Kansas City game, and we'll talk about this next week too. But also, Kansas City has the number 30 pass defense and the number 1 rush defense, which is crazy to me. And the fact that what we saw last week and the fact that we can throw again, it makes me less scared going forward. But we all know what happened. At the beginning of the season, we looked at the schedule and we're like, yeah, those 2 games are going to be rough, right? And everyone's chalking it up as a loss. I think we're already, 9 point? 8.5, somebody put it in there, 8.5 point underdogs against a team that just lost to the Browns. And I mean, I get it. It's an away game. It's in their stadium. And yes, it's the Ravens. They always have the capability. But I don't think this is going to be as big of a disparity as Vegas and everybody else is thinking. I think this is a game that we can come out and prove that we're not just beating the easy teams because we can, that we can keep up with anybody.
David?
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And you guys know, even just last week, I was saying this game could be really, really ugly for the Broncos. I am also ready to change my tune on that. I'm not necessarily coming out and saying, oh man, we're winning this game going away at Baltimore, right? But I feel like it's gonna be close. I feel like this one is gonna be a tough sled. It's the Ravens have the best, gain the most yards per play on offense of any team in the NFL. The Broncos give up the least yards per play of any team in the NFL on defense. It's going to be strength on strength there. And as Jared alluded to, this Ravens pass defense is not what it used to be. There are weaknesses there. And so now, boy, you'd love to see it from Bo Nix, right? You'd love to see him stay as consistent week to week and deliver another performance like he did against the Panthers. Because if he does that, the Broncos have a real chance in this one.
Yeah.
Body.
I'm not trying to be doom and gloom or anything. It's not like this season's going to end. Like we've seen the Ravens. They have 2 real bad losses on their record. That was to the Raiders and again, like you said, Jameis Winston's Cleveland Browns. How many? Do you guys know how many passing yards Bo has this year?
1,400? 12, between 12 and 1,400
yards the Ravens have.
The
Ravens have 1,600 rushing yards.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. To go with 2,100 passing yards. Okay. So I'm just saying that this team that we're facing right now, like, yes, I get that their defense is very suspect at times, but there are times that their defense looks incredible. They played, was it the 49ers that they played? They shut down Purdy, and the 49ers, like, they have the ability to switch them on. And so I'm not saying that we're 9-point underdogs, but there's a Ravens mentality to come out and punch you in the mouth in the first quarter. They're going to go heavy on Derrick Henry. They're going to want to see that bust the train, Miss Frizzle, whatever, out strength man out there, and he's the one that's supposed to set the tone for it. I just don't think there are areas of the team that we just don't match up well against them. But there are advantages, and I'm gonna keep some of those to myself so we have some material for the show on Friday. I definitely got some disadvantages to talk about. I'm just saying that we're going to get a very angry Ravens team, and this team that lost to Cleveland, and a lot of the reason that they lost was mistakes. a lot of the reason that they lost, there's a Bateman long pass that he drops. Other wide receivers do it too, not just Troy Franklin. So we need to kind of hunker down. I think it needs to be the best game for the defense of the season so far, because that right now the Ravens are averaging 415 plus yards a game, and they're number one by a pretty big margin. So they have the ability to run and pass. So this is one of those games where the offense doesn't have the ability to stall. If we put a tired defense out onto the field, it's going to be a long day.
They'll make us pay. Interesting thing. Completely agree. I was listening to a video that some Ravens fan made earlier, kind of looking back at the last few years where the Ravens were playing at home, the early time slot, and they were favored to win by 4 or more points. The Ravens have actually struggled in those situations. Going back 2 years ago, they won both of those situations barely. I think one of them, they didn't even beat the spread. Last year, they only won one of those situations. They lost all the others. This year, I think they've either lost or barely won when they've been, I think it was only like 10 or 11 of those situations, but it does seem like, kind of reminds me of the Broncos struggles when we just go and play out on the East Coast time zone. But it is going to be, I think, really important to see how that defense comes out to start. Because as soon as they start letting Derrick Henry get his, get in the groove, that's just going to open up. It's going to make everything else 10 times worse. And then you have to worry about Lamar Jackson running as well. And then you have to worry about the passing game. I mean, basically what you need to go out there and do is find a way to stop the run game and make Lamar Jackson beat you through the air. I think at that point, they're going to give the offense a chance to win, but it could turn ugly really fast if the offense just, doesn't do anything. And the run game concerns me because we've got to get a run game going. I know the Ravens are not strong on the pass defense, but I don't want us to just lean on that the whole game.
Number one rush defense.
Yeah. There's two things I want to mention. I do want to save some of it for the podcast, but I don't know. Hopefully I remember it. The first one is the name of the game. The name of the game for this Ravens game is going to be limit mistakes and stupid penalties and fumbles. Right? If we can limit all of those things at least to a smaller margin, then yes, we're going to be staying in this game. Also, I'm interested to see. I think this is going to be a chance where we have the chance to have the ball in our hands the last 2 minutes and give Bo a chance to lead a game-winning drive. And see how that turns out for us and see if he can be able to do it, because I think we have the capability. The other thing I want to mention is the Ravens scare me more than anybody else, more than the Chiefs do, because of that capability of Lamar Jackson taking off in the passing game, right? Not designed runs, not options, right? I think we have those covered pretty decently well. I'm worried about the dropbacks, and he's going to find an open seam. We saw it against the Chargers, against a team that doesn't do that, and he ended up taking off for way too many yards, getting first downs on 3rd and longs, 3rd and mediums that we did not want. And that's what's going to scare me about this game, is we need to be able to spy him to make sure that we're not over pursuing him upfield so that he has a lane to take off of up the middle.
Yeah. And I think Vance Joseph will have a good game plan for him. But, man, there's going to be a lot on these inside linebackers, right? Like, it doesn't matter. Cody Barton, Quan Alexander, Justin Strnad, you guys are going to have to play the run game incredibly well, not, stay disciplined and stay in your gaps. And when you're in the passing game, somebody's got to be watching Lamar. You've got to make sure that your cornerbacks and your safeties aren't just 20 or 30 yards down the field. Because if they are, and there's 15 yards before anybody can even put a hand on Jackson, it's going to be a long day.
Oh, and edge rushers, they need to be there. There's a responsibility for the edge rushers to keep him inside of the pocket. So, and not getting too far upfield. There's a lot of crazy things when it comes to Lamar. And this hasn't been an issue for the Broncos this year, but this is the game that definitely we have to stay on point with our tackling. I'm so happy that we haven't been talking about it. It felt like all of last year it was just every week we were missing 10 to 12 tackles a game, and it just hasn't really been like that. That has to continue because Lamar has this incredible ability to just do a little spin move. And then the next thing you know, he's 25 yards downfield. You're like, I had him. And I'm glad you brought it up, Jared, about the quarterbacks who just kind of scrambled and got upfield. I would actually say in every game, a quarterback has gotten at least 15 to 20 yards on us. Even Spencer Rattler, he had like a 30-yard run in that game. Okay, so these other quarterbacks are definitely not Lamar. He's got the speed of any wide receiver and probably the quickness of any running back. So if we don't have the ability to contain him, then it's going to be a long day.
Yeah.
Sean here. Historically, we have shut down Henry. He has 0 touchdowns against us, only 1 game over 100 yards. Kind of coupling this up with the comment from Angelo. I think Denver is on a high, and confidence is everything. So this is an interesting situation. I think the Broncos are actually they're buying into the Sean Payton system. They're seeing the positive results. They're winning big games. Like going on the road against Tampa and stuff like that. They're shutting down teams when they're not favored to win at all. And they're consistent. They're getting more consistent. But especially on defense, it's being able to put ourselves in a position to win. And it's going to be interesting because I think, if I had to pick a team to beat between the Ravens and the Chiefs, it's tough to say, but the Ravens, that one could come down to late season. Does somebody have a tiebreaker over the other, So I don't know, but here's what I'm hearing from you guys essentially is we need to treat this like a playoff game.
I'm gonna be bold already. I'm not afraid of the Chiefs right now. By the way, just throwing that out there.
I agree.
I know.
I agree. I think I'm more worried about the Ravens right now. And really, I would argue, yes, we also had momentum going into that Chargers game, and we were riding into a 3-game high, if I'm not mistaken, going into that game, and we looked flatter than I think we've ever been all season. We just could not do anything, and it was weird. The whole game, we just looked flat. Like we couldn't get anything going until the very end, but it was too late. I would argue that game was more important than this game. And just due to the AFC West implications. And I just hope that we go in there and don't look as flat as we did running off our high of the 3-game win streak earlier in the year. Learn the lesson, go, and again, on an away game, being able to step up and not come out flat, not come out low. Because again, we were able to bounce back against a Panthers team where we fumble on the first drive and they score a touchdown. All of a sudden we're down 7-0 super early in the game. We were able to bounce back from that. It's going to be harder / very, very difficult in their home field against the Ravens if we do something like that. Like it's just, we got to come out a little bit stronger.
Okay. Defense. We're talking about all these players needing to kind of step up. Do you see a particular player that you're really, really wanting to see more from? And the reason I bring this up is just we see a number of players every week consistently. I mean, Zach Allen, you could just name all of them. I mean, Sternad. But is there anyone in particular that you want to see more from going into this week?
Well, let me ask this: is PJ Locke going to be back?
Supposed to be.
I mean,
he only had a finger injury that it sounded like he probably could have played, but
so matching up against a team like this, what?
Yeah, so I don't know of any. I'm like one of those nerds at the game because after the Surtain's interception, he went down awkwardly on the tackle.
Who did? Who is? Wait, I missed the name.
BS2.
Surtain. The key to the defense. Yeah.
Oh, Patrick, no.
Oh, here's what I'll say, and I'm taking away a little bit from the pregame podcast, but I think PJ Locke's going to be the key to this defense if he can be healthy and come back. Having that safety position is crucial against a running quarterback, somebody who can throw deep on you and run if he needs to. We need to have him back and the linebackers, obviously, who I have been. I'll say this: they've been playing very well. They've been playing very well against some not so great escape artists like Lamar Jackson.
I'm gonna touch in on this, and I feel pretty comfortable as long as Pat's healthy, right? Because we know what we're going to see out of Zay Flowers, and I don't believe Deontay Johnson is someone who's going to truly give Riley Moss his fits. I'm still very happy about Riley. Quite honestly, the Ravens run a two tight end set a pretty good amount. So you were talking about inside linebackers about preventing the run. I think more than anything, they're the ones who are going to have a full day because, again, tight end is a spot that we've never, I don't know why, it's the most frustrating thing ever. We've never been good at covering tight ends. And then we're about to run up against a team that runs two tight ends specifically so they can run the football. And then those guys will go out and catch balls all the time. So I think the true matchups for us is going to be the inside linebackers on coverage and in the run game.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Good point.
Most important job on the defense, right, David?
Yes, Jared. I guess you wore.
I'm for letting you tell us why if you want the next 10 minutes to enlighten
Yeah, by all
us.
means. No, enlighten us, please. Yeah.
Spotty did it in 15 seconds, so I don't need to go for 2 minutes.
I don't need to.
He just explained to you.
Isn't that
He just explained to you in 2 seconds, in 15 seconds.
convenient? That's very convenient.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, jeez.
Right, but hey, Kawan Alexander, guys, by the way, he's been playing pretty good for a guy who just joined the team like a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
Sure.
And, like, started the week that he joined the team too on a Thursday night. That was interesting. Yeah. No, he's been playing well.
Andrew says he agrees with the stopping the inside run and covering is going to be key, as well as setting the edge and containing Lamar. That's just, and I'm interested to hear more of your breakdown on that of the pregame podcast, guys. Something to keep in mind right now. I know that the Chargers had their bye week and we haven't, but as of right now, the Broncos are sitting number 2 in the AFC West.
Yeah.
Okay. And we still have to play the Chiefs twice. So, there's still a lot of football to play.
Help the brother out by beating the freaking Chiefs, man. They had to
right?
Just give it to him.
You think.
Every team has the ability. Did you see the freaking Raiders?
Mm-hmm. Sure did.
Yep. You missed it by that much. That's all right. We'll get them. They haven't seen a defense like ours yet, my friends. Not yet.
No.
But we'll get them.
Well, that's what I've heard too. And that's where I'm just like looking at this point spread, and I don't understand where the Broncos defense can be listed so high. And I know the question just revolves around the offense, but to be going in there with ESPN is still saying 9.5 point spread. So like, that's just,
I have a feeling it'll be 6.5 by game day. It'll probably drop down to about 6.5 on game day, which is almost nothing.
People are gonna,
because you're spotted 3 points by being the home team.
For sure.
right. Yeah. This is going to get. I think people are going to hammer this under or to the Broncos side on this, and it's going to drop. I guarantee it. There's this Ravens team. I mean, there's really no team, and we just talked about not being afraid of the Chiefs. The Chiefs are undefeated, and we're not not that anybody should be afraid of any team in the NFL, but it's not like there are these juggernauts that we should be like, oh yeah, that's chalk that up for a loss. Like, all of these teams are beatable. Right, we just saw the Browns do it last week to the Ravens. We haven't seen anybody do it to the Chiefs, but they were in a close game against the Raiders, and they Raidered it. All these teams are beatable. Are we the team that can come in and beat them though? Then that's going to be the difference between, again, and we talked about, David, you said it earlier, I think last week or a week before. Like, you're really going to talk about the P word after this game, right? After this game, after the Kansas City game, maybe after this game, be like, hey, there's a chance. And I see the signs out.
I'll repeat it, Jared. I'll repeat it. If we get done with these 2 games and we're 6-4 or better, stamp this team for the postseason. It's happening.
Yeah,
it's happening.
Yeah, I do like the end of our schedule.
Yeah.
Let's look at this, guys. Let's say the worst thing happened. Look, well, okay, ignore that. Just look at this. Falcons, Raiders, Browns, Colts, Chargers, Bengals, Chiefs. Jared, you're spot on. Every single one of those games, there's not a single one where you're like, oh, there's no way the Broncos are going to, win that game. So let's win one of these next two. And holy crap, like we could go on a good run here, pick up some of these.
Driver's seat. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's a chance you win that.
You're going to be looking at, you're going to be looking at that Chiefs game at the end of the season going, this could be the game that gets us in the playoffs, or at least is like, we're going to wait for a couple tiebreakers, but we're going to be making noise late in the postseason. So halfway, I know 5-3, it's like, yeah, we have 3 losses, but we're in a really good position with what the second half of the season looks like.
Yeah. That stretch of Falcons, Colts, Raiders.
Browns.
Anyway, you could Browns. You could go 4-0 in that stretch if you keep playing the way you've been playing and your offense keeps improving. Like there's wins to be had on this schedule. Go ahead, Spotty.
And we were the 5.5. Anyway, go for it.
Yeah,
I think the next 3 games are the biggest games. I'm gonna throw the Falcons in there too because I would love to sweep the NFC South on this.
Yeah.
And out of the teams in the NFC South, the Falcons are the best team. It's not even
Yeah,
close.
absolutely.
I would say if the Broncos can come out of the next 3 games and be 2-1, it is a very real conversation obviously we're going to be at that point. We're going to be 7-4, and it's real hard to not make the playoffs at that point. So the best case scenario for the Denver Broncos is being 2-1 after these next 3 games. It's not too terrible being 1-2. It's just a very more comfortable position where I think everybody's almost chalking you up as a playoff team. But 1-2, and with the rest of the schedule, because possibly we have the Chiefs the last week of the year, or I guess that'd be first week of the next year. That's probably not even playing a game.
Yeah, but even if we come out 6-5 and we see continued improvement in their close games, I still think we're having that discussion. Like, and that might actually be better for us because now we're not painted for the playoffs, right? It's more of a in the hunt.
We have to keep
team, and we have to keep working for it, and whatever the mindset is in the locker room and on that practice field, but that's a real possibility. And looking at it, if we come out of here 1-2 in the next 3 games, I'm still happy, and I'm still looking at the next level with the future that we have going forward.
Angelo, Denver wins the next 2 and Bo wins Rookie of the Year. Look, that's a bold prediction. Here's the thing.
Jaden Daniels has entered the chat.
I'm sorry. Did you see the last
Jaden Daniels has entered the chat.
It
sucks to be a Bears fan right now. That's and you saw what the Bears player was doing in the end zone at the start of the play, right?
Karma. That's what you get. You're an idiot.
And
it's worse that the Bears took Caleb Williams. Like, I think that's what's just, for me, that's just like poetic justice of like, hey, you took Bo Williams over Jaden Daniels, and then he just throws a Hail Mary on you on the last game, and it's like, oh man, all right, cool, man, yeah, good luck.
There you go.
It was a hell of a throw too. Can we talk?
Oh,
I know
beautiful.
everybody talks about the tip, but man, it wasn't going short and it wasn't going long. Like that is such touch. But before we end all of these rants and tangents, and I know that we're getting pretty close to the end of the game here, I would like to say, and it doesn't seem like it, the Broncos defense is the closest one that mirrors the Browns defense. The Browns, I know the Browns haven't been very good, but their defense is still a good defense. The only difference is that the Browns have Myles Garrett and the Broncos don't, but I'd make the argument there's nobody in the secondary that the Browns have that's better than Pat Surtain. So if we're talking about a team that has the ability to do what the Browns did, it's the Broncos. But still, Derrick Henry still at 6.6 yards a carry against the Browns. So I think that we might even be able to improve on the fact that, we'll keep them contained and hopefully not see too many stiff arms to the face.
Yeah, we'll see.
Love it, man.
Yeah.
It's fun to be mid-season, guys, and we're having these kinds of conversations.
That's true.
Instead about number one draft picks.
On the first year of a rebuild, too. On the first year of
we
a
did
rebuild,
did not think we would be here at the beginning of the season.
No. Look,
guys,
somebody brought it up, but we're half a win away from beating that preseason win total in week 9. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. Well, is it 5.5? I thought it was 4.5 for some teams.
I thought it was 5.
No, 5.5. It might have been a 4.5 in some places, but I think 5.5.
Broncos will do way better than that.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Look, guys, we'll get to some closing thoughts here in just a second, but don't forget the post-game podcast is still up. If you want to go relive the awesomeness that was this Panthers game, go check that out. iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher. If you're like, nah, I've already talked about that enough, and you're already thinking about the Ravens game, don't worry. We got the pregame podcast coming out later this week, definitely by Saturday. So as you're running your errands or whatever you're doing, you can check out the podcast and get ready for the Ravens game that way. Also, if you want to donate, we'll gladly take your money. I know we're going to start a new fund for Jared's hats because he needs a much better selection than what he currently has. But we'll take your money. Otherwise, if you don't want to donate money, that's perfectly fine. We appreciate you being here and tuning in and chatting with us all night long.
Kev, did you get a Lucha Libre mask?
Jared, stop playing with your ball.
They were out by the time I got in there. Damn. Yeah. Otherwise, I would have started with it on, but
I know that's the came to mind.
Yeah,
right off the bat.
Nope, they were out by the time I got in there. But next time when they do that, I think next year they usually give those away. So, yeah, guys, we're here every Tuesday night. Make sure you check that out. Game day, check out our content on game day. Oh, that's what I was saying. More than anything, more than donating, make sure you comment, like, subscribe, share, all that stuff for the algorithm, guys. That helps us out more than anything. So appreciate you guys doing that. Let's do some closing thoughts. Yeah, we got another Jasmine puffball. Man, all you guys join. David, I don't know if it's like you got a aura about you or what? You're carrying yourself.
Fashion sense. It's called having fashion sense. We don't call it. It's not a gang. It's a social club. Okay.
Anyway. Is that why I was kicked out?
Yes, you weren't. You're antisocial. Yeah. All right. Closing thoughts.
Let's do some closing thoughts. Jared, what do you got, bud?
I see why you like it. It's my ADD is definitely loving this. All right. So two things. One, don't worry. When I get back to California, the visor will come back. This is only for the New England area. Very cold out here. Also, cold sucks. Not super happy with it. Want to go back to my Southern California. And but no, going forward to this Ravens game, let's talk about this. My closing thoughts on this is I think this is going to be a very difficult game. I don't think this is out of reach. I don't think the 9-point spread or whatever is actually realistic. I think if we can limit /0 turnovers in this game, if we can have 0 turnovers, even 1 turnover in this game, I think we have a chance to win it. What I really want to see, and I think would be really cool, Bo Nix, 2-minute driving down to win the game with either a field goal or a touchdown. I think he has the capability, and it's something that I think I've mentioned on a show before. We never got with Russell, right? We haven't had in a while where the ball is in our hands to win the game, drive down and win a game. We all kind of took this like, that's the game, right? And we kind of looked at the game and was like, this isn't happening. There's no way that we're going to be able to drive down. And I think we have that capability. I want to see Bo be able to be put in that position, regardless of the outcome. I think that's what's going to end up happening. Is going to be a close game.
Like it. David, what you got, bud?
Well, first of all, it's clearly not Hook versus Puffball, Andrew. We're adjacent. I don't know if we're on the same side, but we're not in competition like visors. It's a silly headgear. All right, guys. Final thoughts for this game. I have said it a lot of times on this show, I feel like, or maybe I'm just inventing the idea that I said it a lot of times so that I can make myself sound better now. Either way, I have said many times, let's just be patient. Let's watch the process unfold, right? Let's see where it's going. We're trying something new, right? We're trying something, a good coach with a rookie quarterback for the first time that he handpicked and is trying to develop. Let's see what happens. This might be it. Maybe this is it, guys. Maybe we are finally seeing the fruits of that patience. Maybe we're not. Maybe Bo Nix looks as bad as he has ever looked in the NFL and in this Ravens game, and I am forced to eat all of this crow. But I don't think so. I think this might be it. I think the want and the have are about to become one thing.
Merge.
Yeah.
I'm saving just the part where you said maybe Bo Nix looks the worst than he ever has. So if he does, I'm putting that on repeat and putting it out on the social.
You go ahead and keep that, and I'm saving the pictures that your wife sent me of you wearing that hat, and we'll see what gets put out on social media and what doesn't. Yeah.
It's not like you already have a million pictures of Jared David on your phone.
Yeah,
like,
sure, but
I'm
most
sure
of them he's not wearing a hat or much of anything else.
Or anything.
Yeah.
Spotty, man, what you got, buddy?
I know you guys want to hear this from me. The play calling has gotten better. It's not insufferable dinking and dunking for the entire game. I don't know if that's about the run game. I don't know if that's about Bo himself. Maybe the chains have come out. Maybe Sean Payton is now the breaker of chains. I don't know. But I'm telling you, it's looking a whole lot better, and it makes the Broncos there. We see what happens when you could throw the ball downfield. It was like that first time that Troy Franklin dropped the ball. Everybody's like, oh, damn, Bo can actually throw this thing.
Yeah.
And it's been more part of our game planning, and it's been chef's freaking kiss. So all I can say is this is not the game to go backwards. There's the potential of being a very hurt secondary that was already very bad at the first place. Okay, let her rip. Let her rip. And so, Sean Payton, thank you very much for making our offense look competent and competitive, and let's keep it going because we've got a long schedule for the rest of the year, and it looks good for us.
I love it.
I have one save round, and I know we're running at the end of it, but on the note of I'm very impressed with Sean Payton's play calling. I'm also super impressed with not just the ability for Bo Nix to launch that thing, but his ability to read the field. His reads have been very, very good. His ability to see an open wide receiver, see that if it's even, it's leaving. That's what we used to tell him, right? Like if they're even with the DB, it's leaving your hands. Let him go get that ball. And we saw it on multiple tosses, including that Franklin drop. Like he's reading the open receivers, and that is something that is very good to look forward to. We need more of that in this game. Don't go backwards. I'm with Spotty.
Also, I still don't think that we've seen the best game from the offense yet. That's all I said.
Ooh, I like that.
No, I agree. They have more in the tank. Randy, I'm going to leave it kind of with this question. How optimistic are we that Denver could beat Baltimore? Thinks it's going to be closer, but by Broncos by 3. Look, I'm optimistic enough to realize that we have one of the top defenses in the league, and that's gone toe-to-toe with other teams and have shut down other big-name running backs, big-name quarterbacks. We played a lot of beat-up teams, teams like the Panthers that we were supposed to win, but we did. We took care of business. So as long as we go in there and we play our A game, we're going to be in a position to have a chance to win, right? So as long as the offense generates points, man, if we could get some points off of defense, that would be huge, right? So getting some sort of pick six or fumble recovery, whatever, scoop and score, but the possibility is definitely there. So for anyone who's like, oh, you're playing the Ravens, you're going to lose, dude, shut up. We're both 5-3 teams. Okay. Yes. The Ravens have, I think, they're more foundationally built. They're more experienced. I think they have more of the big name talent, but Broncos been able to make plenty of noise with what we have. So let's see what kind of game plan we have and go in there and light it up. But I'll leave it with that, guys. Jared, Spotty, David, you guys are fantastic as always. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Everybody else who's been in the comments all night long, thank you so much. You guys are fantastic. We'll be back later this week for the pregame podcast. Make sure to check that out, and game day on Sunday. So, hey, guys, enjoy the last week of October. Enjoy your Halloween. I have nothing left to say other than end this as we always do on a very strong Go Broncos. Take care, everyone. We'll see you later.
Do what I like, yeah, I do what I like, yeah, I do what I like. Sip and go, sip is right, and I go with the